Alright, we're going to be starting off at Big Red. So I have 5 categories: vibes, security, amenities, entertainment, and food and water. And the reason amenities and food and water are 2 separate categories is because you might have a place with a good bathroom, good source of medical supplies, but it might not have any food and water. So for security, you do have 2 entrances that you can presumably close. We're going to assume that you can close all of these big garage doors. Now the problem you might have is locking it. I don't see any locking mechanism on a lot of these doors. If you can lock it, we're going to knock some points off for not seeing any way that is readily apparent for you to lock it. However, you can see pretty much everything from up top, and both of the entrances are sort of located towards one side, and you want to be spending most of your time up top anyways, where there's only one entrance into the building. So it does get a point off for the doors being so big, but I'm honestly going to give this a 4 out of 5 in terms of security. Pretty good. Now in terms of vibes, the large empty warehouse isn't that great. I guess you have a lot of space, but what's really nice is like these rooms up here. You have a nice little couch, you have sunlight from the window there. I think having a carpet, especially a carpet that is surprisingly clean, cleanliness can go into the security or the vibes, but I think having a nice clean carpet is such a added value bonus. You've also got this room with nice sunlight. There's a nice little dark place for you to hide in. I think that psychological aspect of being able to sit in like the dark corner over there with the chair, I think that adds a lot in terms of the vibes. You also have a nice little desk lamp and what looks like a pretty comfy chair there surrounded by a desk, and the psychological aspect of being up off of the ground, both practically for security and for your own comfort and security. I can't give it a 5 out of 5 because there's a giant warehouse under you, but I think 4 out of 5. Now in terms of entertainment, we are big chillin' in this place. We got a radio, we have a laptop, phone, a printer, and I know there's a good chance you can't even make phone calls, but push the buttons, you can play with the headset. I don't know, man, there's a lot of stuff you can do. And assuming you're a book person, there's a whole bunch of books over there, so you can also read a bunch. And there's also multiple computers, so if your laptop messes up or something like that, you can swap out the parts from all the different computers in there, not into your laptop, but you could use the desktop. There's not much to do in the warehouse, but I guess you could lift some stuff. Not that you'd want to leave the warehouse very often, but I would say lifting is a pretty low bar. But given all of the stuff in the top room, I'm going to go ahead and give this a 5 out of 5 in terms of entertainment. Now, there's a big problem in terms of amenities, and that is the fact that there is no bathroom and there is no bed. So I'm going to give it a point for having a couch, but having no bathroom, no bed, I can't go any higher than a 2 out of 5. Now for food and water, it is so ambiguous in this game, and there's not many places that even have the suggestion that there is food or water. So because of all of the crates, it is hard to say if there is food and water in here, but I can't in good conscience go any higher than a 1 out of 5. There's no suggestion that there's any food or water anywhere. So our security is at a 4 out of 5, our vibes are at a 4 out of 5, entertainment is a 5 out of 5, amenities is a 2 out of 5, and food and water is a 1 out of 5, which is going to leave us with a 64% out of 100, which is actually really good. It just sucks there's no bathroom and there's no bed and no source of like food or water. Now there is a little guard post over here, and we're just going to get this out of the way because this is garbage. Security is a 0 out of 5 for obvious reasons. It does get a little bit of vibes points because of the little chimney thing here, but obviously food, entertainment, and amenities is a 0 because there's basically nothing in here. So unfortunately this gets the depression score of 8 out of 100. Very sad. Then there's these little storage containers over here, and trust me, I would love to review all of them, but they're all pretty much the same, and this video would be 4 hours long. They all just kind of suck. This one has an entire crushed car inside of it, and the best thing you have in here is a radio. This one has a couch inside of it, but nothing else. I gave the security a 2 out of 5 because I guess you can hole yourself up in a container, and there is a lot of line of sight blockers. I gave the vibes a 1 out of 5 because you're in a shitty storage locker. Entertainment, 0 out of 5. There's nothing here. There is a radio, but in a place this barren, it's going to get real boring real fast. Amenities, a 0 out of 5. There's no bathroom, no beds. It's horrible. There is that sofa, but again, in a place this big, That sucks. You can pick between the radio or the sofa. You don't want to do that. And then food and water, 0 out of 5. There's not a piece of food or water to be seen here, which leaves us with a 12% out of 100. Not very good. Now there is the trailer park, which is very similar to the storage container, but with even less stuff. There is a couch, and there is no bathroom, there is no food or water anywhere, there's no bed, and the security is even worse because it's a much wider open space. And there are windows right on the building. Also, I have no idea how that TV is supposed to get power, but it's broken anyways. So yeah, this gets all zeros except for vibes, because I mean, I guess there's some trees, and I mean, you're in a wide open sort of space, so that can be a bad thing in terms of mental comfort for security, but I mean, you're in nature and shit, sort of, so it really just comes down to the fact that there are places that are much worse for vibes, which leaves us with a 4% out of 100, which is pretty abysmal. Then there's Crack House, and let me tell you, this place is almost perfect. As far as security goes, it's not too bad, but there are 3 doors, which can be kind of hard to get secure, but it looks like they do have locks on them, and you could barricade them. And you could probably destroy the ladder that's off this little side entrance, although it might be hard. There's also this glass, but it's pretty thick. Unfortunately, it is like kind of broken, so you would have to be a little careful. I'm not sure how hard it would be to break that glass, but it does look super thick, so it might be okay. And then you have this window on the first floor, which that is an actual very scary window, but you could maybe use this to, you know, barricade it. Combination of there being 3 entrances and a window do unfortunately have to take half a point off, but it is close to being 5 out of 5 in terms of security. It doesn't have like big warehouse doors. You don't have to traverse a very wide open space very often, and it looks like doors that are pretty secure. The biggest security concern is that window and the thick window glass, which you can also barricade over, but it might be a little harder. Hitting right out of the gate, the first thing you have is a jug of water, which may or may not be full. You have a hot plate, desk, nice little desk lamp, so it's looking good in terms of amenities and food so far. I mean, more food than we've seen anywhere else, even if it's not, you know, full. And again, we already at the entrance have a radio, and that food's probably empty if I had to guess, but still, we aren't even close to being done yet. Coming through here, we have a nice little 3 stack of chairs. We have a nice little candle setup, medical supplies. And I mean, yeah, there's a body there, but I mean, dump that bitch out front. Now we have the first bathroom we've seen, and in terms of bathrooms, spoiler alert, it is one of the nicer ones. So we have a scrub brush, a wash basin, we have toilet paper, we have nice little sinks. I don't know if the water's running or not, but I mean, we'll count that as a W. And let me tell you, that is one clean toilet. That's the last one of those you're gonna see. In here we got wet wipes, we got tea, it looks like we have maybe some cigarettes, not sure entirely. And there's another dead body, throw that bitch out front, it's fine, okay? You've probably seen plenty of dead bodies if you're used to living in Tarkov land. We have books. Looks like a lot of documents, stuff to read that's good entertainment. I mean, this place rocks, dude. And then in here we got a shower, plenty of showers, sinks, we have a bunch of jugs of water, and even if those aren't full, which they may or may not be, it's hard to tell, that is the best suggestion of water that we've gotten in a while, and you can fill those up. That is actually a usable resource. Then in the window room we have a hot plate and an actual pot to be able to use. Then we have a lot of barricaded rooms, but which is not a vibe, but also you could probably unbarricade at least some of them. And I mean, honestly, having a second floor can put your mind at ease of a lot of that stuff, because you can just stay on the second floor. You have all of these books, you have nice window light, that kind of adds to the vibe, and just having like a library room is nice. And the floor is not actually that dirty either. It's just piled up with books. So, I mean, you can put the books on the shelves. You have so much entertainment, so much to read. And to top it all off, there's a computer over here. I mean, this second floor is just so expansive, and there's so much. There's a radio I just passed by. There's this entire room over here with boxes, which, judging by the cans of food next to it, this might actually be boxes of food. So some of the ones that are sealed might actually have food inside of them, which is the best we've done for food. Then in here, you have like you have a plant, which is insane for vibes, and a top floor where you can actually give it sunlight without putting yourself in danger. A literal plant, bro. Vibes are off the charts. You can get a nice little view of the horrible construction site, which you probably don't want to do. Then you can learn a new hobby. You can start sewing. I'm pretty sure these are sewing machines. I don't know. There's chemistry set, okay? Whatever all of this is, it's entertainment, utility, and I mean, it's just, it's money. Okay, this place is insane. So, I mean, I'm going to have to give this place, for vibes, I mean, it's got to be, I mean, there could be more decorations on the wall, but it's cozy. It's a house, so I'm going to go 4 out of 5. Obviously, we said security was a 4.5 out of 5. Amenities, I would love to give amenities a 5 out of 5, but the problem is there's no bed. So that's actually such a big deal. I'm going to have to knock it down to a 4 out of 5. I cannot in good conscience give it a 4.5 out of 5, even though the amenities are insane. Entertainment, 5 out of 5, a bunch of books and and even a computer and then a bunch of other stuff to do. And then for food and water, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. It's the best I think we're going to see, but you know, there could be actual evidence of an abundance of food or water, which would beat this. And that's going to give us an 86%, which is insanely high, especially for a place like Tarkov. For a place called Crack House, this place rocks. Now we're going to be moving over to Warehouse 17. Starting right off the bat in terms of security, I think if you're looking for a place to loot, you're not going to be going to Crack House, really. You're either going to be going to this place or the Boiler Building if you're coming from the road. And that poses a major security concern, especially with all of the entrances to this warehouse. And just kind of the fact that it's a very big place and you can't see everything from one angle. You know, there's like a downstairs sort of area, there's an upstairs area, there's just multiple line of sight blockers. You're not going to feel safe here, which not only takes away from the security, but sort of the psychological security. Now, the bathroom is not the worst that I've seen in Tarkov, and I mean, it does get a point for having a decent, not only a bathroom, but a bathroom that actually is relatively clean. You do have a radio here, so that's going to be a point in terms of entertainment. And just coming up the stairs here, you have this entire back place. I mean, this place just feels scary. Like, if I was living here, I would not be having a good time. You'd have to Home Alone booby trap this place to feel psychologically safe or really safe. And there is a bed right then, but it's a very shitty bed, so I don't know if you'd actually want to use that. You could camp out up here, but I mean, that doesn't feel very safe, now does it? In terms of entertainment, you kind of hit the mother lode up here. You have what looks to be some sort of, I don't know, some radio equipment, signaling equipment. I'm sure you could have some fun with that. And you have an entire LAN set up. You have 2 computers that seem to be functioning, and then it looks like that third one might be broken. So you might have a problem there. Regardless, you do have 2 computers, which is pretty sick. And the way the computers are positioned, you can kind of overlook in a way that you could probably be safe, except for the fact that there's this little stairs down here and someone could come through this door from the outside, so you'd probably get murdered while you're playing your video games. So I mean, in terms of security, what security? I mean, there's not active holes in the floor and shit. I mean, you are inside of a building, so I mean, I guess I'll give the security a 1 out of 5 instead of an absolute 0. But I mean, short of putting Home Alone style traps around this place, it's going to be almost impossible to secure because you just don't, it's too big and there's too many line of sight blockers, different levels, and there's 3 doors in this place. And then for vibes, I mean, this place is pretty bad. It's got to be a 1 out of 5. I wouldn't at no point feel safe, comfy, cozy, or secure, other than that gaming setup room, which is why I'm giving it a 1. As far as amenities, it does have a toilet and a pretty clean one, so I'll have to give that a 2 out of 5. Just because that is such a rare thing to have. In terms of entertainment, actually, not bad. I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5 because of the computers, the signaling equipment. No books, though. Very unfortunate. And then in terms of food, it's got to be a 0 out of 5. I didn't see a single suggestion that there may be food anywhere in that place, which leaves us with a 28%. Not great. I mean, the security and the vibes just kill it here, and the fact that there's no food. Next, we have the Boiler Building, and honestly, this place sucks. It's got all of the same problems in terms of being gigantic and never really being able to see everything from one vantage point, but then the place where you have most perspective is Awful Vibes, which is up at the very top, and you don't want to be sleeping and just constantly being on see-through ladders. So security and vibes, this thing is awful. There's not even the suggestion of food being anywhere, and I mean, there's no entertainment, there's no books, there's not weights, and the safest place is going to be down here, but do you really want to live in this tiny little cramped room? So, I mean, only for that will I not give the security a complete 0. I mean, there's literal holes in the wall up top, but if you did just stay down here, which you wouldn't want to, I guess you could be okay. So for security, we're going to go ahead and give it a 2 out of 5, and that is only because, you can stay down in the bottom part. In terms of vibes, I'm going to have to go with a 0. This place sucks. It's really got that warehouse, factory vibe, but, there's not even anything to offset that. And then obviously for amenities, I mean, there's not even a bathroom, there's no bed, there's nothing. This place sucks. Entertainment is gonna also have to be a 0. There's literally nothing there. There's not even a radio. And then in terms of food, that's also gonna have to be a 0 because there's not even any food down there, or even the suggestion of food. So that's gonna end up being an 8% out of 100. Depression building. Still better than the trailer park, but slightly worse than the storage facility. Next is this little convenience store over here. The place is pretty trash. I mean, you have literally windows covering half the place. I guess you could sleep in the back corner, but even if you ended up doing that, you'd have to sleep on this shitty mattress, and I wouldn't feel very safe being right next to a door. You could probably block the door in the front and the door in the back somehow, but if you look, there's no real objects that you could reasonably and comfortably block the door with. Now, bonus points because there is food here, and there's also a bunch of water jugs with cups, so I gotta give it at least a 2 for that, and those boxes might also have more food in them. But in terms of security, a 1. It's not the worst thing in the world, but it is pretty bad. Vibes has to be a 0. I mean, you're living at a convenience store. Amenities has to be a 0 as well. There is a bed, but on the other hand, think about this. You are in such a small space that every time, if you shit in there, if you piss in there at any point, it's going to be awful. So say you are in a semi-war zone. I mean, if you're gonna have to pick between shitting and pissing in your tiny little convenience store or putting your security at risk, that's just not a good vibe. Entertainment, I'll give it a 1 because there's a cash register you can click the buttons on. If you're going this crazy, you might end up doing that. There's something, tactile feedback. You can play little games with yourself. I don't know. It's not good. It's not above a 1, but it's still a 1. Food, I'm gonna have to give it a 4 out of 5. I mean, you have the water jugs, you have the, actual food that you can see that's there, and then you have the boxes that could be filled with food. If I'm gonna give Crack House a 4 out of 5, this has got to get a 4 out of 5 as well, which that's gonna add us up to a 24%. Next up, we have New Gas Station. Security can't be rated too high because you literally have glass windows all around the front. You could barricade it up, but I mean, good luck finding an effective barricade for that. And then you have the fact that the surrounding area, I mean, it's just an awful area to be placed in. I mean, you're gonna have people passing by all the time, scavenging, looking. You're just not going to be safe. So the initial reaction is to give it a 0, but there is a room that you can barricade yourself in, but it is covered in windows, so it can't raise the score any higher than that. I mean, you're just going to have to barricade and pray. So I can only give it a 1, but I mean, in terms of just vibes, I mean, this room's pretty chill. It's got 2 couches. You've got the little, whatever, those artsy shelves on the wall. It's not horrible, but it is very much brought down by the fact that you're inside of a gas station the second you step out, and that disgusting toilet. So honestly, it's got to be a 1 out of 5 in terms of vibes. It's not bare minimum awful, but it's not great. I mean, in terms of amenities, it does have a couch, 2 couches as a matter of fact. It has a trash can. It does have a bathroom, pretty bad bathroom, but a bathroom nonetheless, so I would say it's pretty good. But it could be better, and there's no bed, so I'll give it a solid 3 out of 5. In terms of entertainment, I mean, there's nothing tangible to do, necessarily. I mean, there are magazines, so that's pretty cool. But there's just so much stuff in here that gives it a point, and then there are technically magazines and books, so that gives it another point. I would give it a 2 out of 5 in terms of entertainment. In terms of food, a solid 3 out of 5. You clearly have stuff on the shelves and boxes under it that are clearly meant to be food boxes that are unopened. Goated. Just no giant jugs of water anywhere. This is going to leave it with a 40%, which is not great, but it's not the worst we've seen. Then you have this little guard/scav tower. I can't rate it too high because there's a window on every single side of this building, and so in terms of security, you're not gonna be doing too well. Honestly, 0 out of 5. Even though you're in a building, there's at no point that you would be able to obscure your line of sight. I mean, in terms of vibe, it's not great, but it could be a lot worse. I mean, there is something to being kind of like in the corner, kind of high up, and being able to see what's going on around you on all sides with a nice little, I mean, it's not a very pretty chair, but it is a chair that you can, sit in, and it's sort of dark, so maybe there's a sense of psychological security there. So vibe has to be a 1 out of 5. It's not a 0, but it's not great either. In terms of amenities, it's a 1 out of 5. I mean, there's a couch, and that's about it. Entertainment, 0 out of 5. There's nothing to do here, and food, 0 out of 5. There's not even the suggestion of food. That's going to leave us with an 8%, which is about as bad as the trailer park. But spot on with the boiler room, and that is because the boiler room had basically nothing but higher security. Now, I wanted to announce in the middle here, if you're enjoying this video, there will be more to come, so please subscribe. I have a bunch of different ideas like this. And if this video gets 1,000 likes, I will do Ground Zero. That's right, I'll do all the different rooms in Ground Zero. It will take forever. It's a lot of rooms, but I will do it. Now we're going to be coming over to this place next to ZB11. This place is a big yikes in terms of security and vibes. There is a giant hole in the roof. There is holes in all of those like thick glass panes, which would be potentially, again, you could barricade them, but there's nothing to barricade with in this warehouse. Your best bet is gonna be to stay in the room up top. So for security and vibes, the fact that you're in a dirty warehouse that psychologically feels unsafe as well as physically is unsafe, that's gonna have to be a 0 out of 5 on both fronts. This place sucks. There's 2 doors on the bottom, there's a hole in the roof, there's not even a door on this side of the room. You have what is technically a bed, but is the worst piece of garbage mattress in the entire universe. And because there's no bathroom or any couches, I'm gonna have to give amenities a 0.5 out of 5. You have technically a bed, but it's so bad that I can't even give a full point for that. You do have 2 computers and a toolbox, which is really nice in terms of entertainment. Computers rate heavily, so I'm gonna give entertainment probably a 3 out of 5. Having computers is really nice, having a toolbox is really nice, and then food, I'm going to have to go ahead and throw a 0 out of 5. There's not even the suggestion of food around here. Which is going to leave this with a 14%, which is pretty bad, being saved by the computers. Now we're going to come over here to Warehouse 7, and this place is in the same vein as a lot of the others. It's way too windy, there's holes, there's a big giant gate, there's multiple entrances, there's no good place to get line of sight of everything. The vibes are kind of shit. It's kind of a dirty warehouse, and the safest place is going to be up on like metal platforms, which is not a very good vibe, which is going to make this a 1 out of 5 in terms of security, and I mean a 1 out of 5 out of vibes. I mean, at least you're in a building and you can maybe get a sense of a little cozy corner. In terms of amenities, there's no bed or anything, so that's going to have to be a 0 out of 5. But at least you have a radio, so in terms of entertainment, that's a 1 out of 5. And then in terms of food, not even the mere suggestion of food, so that's going to be a 0 out of 5. So that's going to leave us with a 12%, which is also pretty bad. Next, we're going to move on to Warehouse 6. Now, this is a hard one because the main area is pretty insecure. There's 3 entrances in here, 2 of which are on the same side, but there's also a split level. So there's 2 rooms that you can stay in, and depending on which room you stay in is going to change sort of the overall factors. But you could be relatively secure going from one room to the other. You just need to be very alert and careful. But that being said, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5 because you can legitimately just stay on one side. There is a bathroom up there. There are beds and different things like that. So in terms of vibes, once again, you're high up, so not only practically, but psychologically that security helps. There's a nice little couch. You got a nice little kitchen area. I mean, this looks like, you know, you could make this a home. It's not the greatest place in the world, but, you know, this is still a vibe. Now, on the other side, and I don't think it's practical to lug all of this equipment over between sides, especially if you're worried about safety. This side is not as much of a vibe. There's blood all over the green screen. The back room is not that nice either. So I would have given the vibes like a 4 out of 5, but I think I'm going to have to drop it down to a 3 out of 5, given this is the side you're most likely going to want to stay on. Now, in terms of amenities, on one side you have a couch that is better than most beds in this map. You also have a refrigerator, a microwave, plates. I mean, this side rocks in terms of amenities, and you could feasibly move the microwave over. On this side, you do have like bad floor mattresses that you could potentially stack on top of each other to make an okay bed. You do have a pot, but aside from that, I mean, you have a chair, and amenities aren't really that great on this side. So, but the fact that even if you do pick this side, you have a bathroom, you have a sink, you have mattresses you can stack on top of each other, and you have like lights, and you know, it would be quite useful. And not to mention that there's a toolbox in here. Pretty much no matter what side you pick, you're going to be pretty well off, which is why I'm going to give amenities a 4 out of 5. Then, no matter which side you pick, you have a camera, a green screen, a computer setup to edit videos. I mean, you have lighting. That could be such a huge form of not only creative inspiration, but actual just fun in general. You have a newspaper there that you could read. In the other side, you do have like machines that you can use to work on a craft, which is admittedly not as cool as having an entire setup for filming cameras, but there's nothing like that on this map really, as far as having like an entire professional film studio. So I'm actually going to give entertainment a 5 out of 5. Goated, actually goated. And then for food, I'm gonna give it a 1 because there is an entire unopened like refrigerator there, but there's not that much of a suggestion of food aside from the Tarker spawn that I had, which I don't know if you want to count that or not really. Which that's gonna leave us with a 68%, which is not bad honestly. Really gets brought down by the lack of food, which is gonna bring us over to Warehouse 5. There's not much going on in here. Security, you have a similar problem to the same warehouses, but exacerbated by 1,000. There's like 5 entrances. It's pretty awful. They're all gate-style entrances with doors open to varying degrees. Securing all of that would be an absolute nightmare. It's just one single floor, so pretty much no matter where you stayed, you would be scared of someone coming through any given entrance. It would be a nightmare to sleep. You'd have to sleep inside of one of the containers, and that just creates a bad vibe as well, having to sleep inside of a container and being surrounded by entrances. So vibes and security, that's going to be a 0 out of 5 each. There's not even the suggestion of food or amenities. That's a 0 out of 5. But then you have a computer. It's a single computer, so it's just going to be a 2 out of 5. So that's going to be an 8%. You do not want to stay here. Now we're moving on to the one that you've all been waiting for, dorms. And honestly, dorms, I contend, is actually a lot more secure than you might think. Now, there are way too many doors on multiple floors, and 2-story and 3-story dorms are basically the same. So what I contend is that you go to the top floor and you block off the stairs. You just barricade the stairs, and then you barricade the side entrance and only move that and use that. Everything else you just ignore. This place, so security, honestly, 4 out of 5. Not ideal, but you can make it work. Vibes, I mean, it's dorms. It's not the greatest place, but it still feels like you could make it a home. I would say 3 out of 5. Amenities, it's got a bathroom, there are places to cook depending on what floor you're on and which dorms you go to. There are beds everywhere. They're shitty beds, but you could stack them on top of each other. So honestly, I'm going to hit amenities with a 5 out of 5. As far as entertainment, I mean, there's computers, there's books, there's just exploring the place in general. A lot of the rooms are barren, but I mean, there's stuff pretty much everywhere. So I would say 4 out of 5. And there is a surprising lack of food in dorms, but there are some tangible places where you can see that there is actually food. And by that metric, I mean, in this game, it's going to have to be a 4 out of 5, which is going to make this an 80%, which is pretty nice. I mean, it's pretty good all around in all categories. You could argue some of the things like food, maybe vibes could be a little bit higher or lower, but I would say it's pretty good all around. So that leaves us with it being our second highest rank, not living up to Crack House, 86%. Crack House is goated. Honorable mention for Big Red at 64%. Our absolute worst was Trailer Park and the little outpost outside over here, as well as the shipping containers, 12%, pretty bad. Notably, though, on the warehouse front, Boiler Building had an 8%, while Warehouse 5 also had an 8%, not looking good, as well as the little scav outpost out here. But yeah, I'm curious what you guys think. This is my first time doing this, so I'll do probably a better job next time. I know I left like a couple, I think 3 buildings out, and that was because there wasn't really much notable to say about them, so I didn't go back and get footage. If you want me to go back and revisit those buildings and put them next to the overall rankings, I can do that. But yeah, like I said, 1K likes, I will do Ground Zero, and I will do every single room of every single building, which will take forever. So let me know if that's something you'd enjoy, and I hope you have a great Tarkov day.